Hi everyone, welcome to my week 5 demo. So as a brief overview, this is the pipeline as to how my application works. You have your user, your Next.js front end, and your Flask backend. I wanted to show you all a little bit as to how the application actually looks. This is called JDoc Helper. And as you can see here, you have a search bar where you can ask any question related to JDoc. And basically goes through a pretty integrated data process. And then it gives out this response here. And this is a very raw UI. As you can see, the Jayhawk here on the right is too much space here, but I'm going to fix up this UI to make it look nicer. One of the reasons why I'm not showing you the actual clicking of submit here is because the process to actually generate the output text is taking roughly 2 minutes, which is a pretty long time. And I think that's one of the problems with the architecture of this particular application is that since it has so many steps, I think it's taking quite a long time for it to actually retrieve all the chunks, um, create your embeddings for the query, then go through the LLM and actually create the output generated text. I think that entire process is taking a long time. And it could also be that the model that I'm using is pretty big. So maybe having a model with smaller parameters could speed up this process. Those are some of the flaws that I see with the application so far, but this is just a basic overview of it. So I wanted to go into the pipeline, like I mentioned. It starts off with the MongoDB connection. So this is important to get all that relevant chunks based on the user's query, embedding the user's query using the Just embedding model. I found that Just is a very trustworthy embedding model. So that's what I've stuck to. I've been using Atlas Search in order to pull all relevant chunks based on the user's query. And these chunks are then used to create a new prompt, which is more comprehensive because it not only contains the user's query, but also chunks relevant to the query. And then command line execution. So we use the Mistral 7B instruct model via the command line with the llama file, which is unique to this project in order to generate those responses. And then a Flask application, the Flap web server, it basically handles any incoming post requests. And I created an endpoint called the query endpoint, which is where all those post requests from the Next.js front end are sent to on the Flask backend. And like I mentioned, some of the problems that I've already noticed with the architecture, slow response time, that could potentially be due to the reasons I mentioned before, such as the long pipeline, as well as the model I'm using, as well as deploying an application with all these different components is going to be a challenge. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to properly use Docker in order to containerize all these different components and make it run smoothly. So these are some of the things that I've noticed. Thank you.